Condemned to darkness, where our power grows.
Aphelios is one of the hardest champions in the game, and today I will be going through 11 Aphelios mechanics that you did not know about. But first of all, who am I? I'm one of the best Aphelios players in EU. I reached rank 1 in season 12 and I've been consistently top of the ladder playing mainly Aphelios. I'm also currently 1k LP challenger. I haven't played that much Aphelios this season because he's not the greatest, but I still have around a 70% win rate on him. So Aphelios is described as being incredibly difficult, and one of those reasons is for his intense complexity. So first of all, I want to talk to you guys about his general weapon rotation and the weapon rotation that I use before we get into the actual mechanics. So first of all, the easiest way to achieve my weapon rotation is to just use red first, then use your oldest weapon first, and using red first again, and then using your blue first when you get blue-purple. So it'll look something like this. So here, when you have blue-purple, is where you can make two different decisions. Either you can choose to use blue first, which will result in having green-blue, or you can use purple first, which will result in having green-purple and red-blue. And I will go over both downsides and upsides of both, and why I prefer green-blue. So first of all, let's go into green-blue. Now it's very important, despite white being my newest weapon, it's still going to be the weapon that I use first, because we want to go red-white into green-white, into green-blue, into blue-purple, into red-purple, and then repeating the cycle all over again. Now, I love my rotation of green-blue because I think one of Aphelios' best weapons in the later game and in the mid-game is his green, as it provides so much range. It's 650 range, the same as Caitlyn, and it allows you to play a lot of the matchups that Aphelios normally struggles in. And it just allows you to play team fights because you're a low range, low mobility ADC without it. And it has a lot of cool interactions with blue that we will be discussing later in the mechanics section. Now, the downside of this is the fact that you're gonna end up with red-purple. So if we just go through here, and the way you circumvent that is by using blue and purple at the same time. So how I would use my weapons is using blue and purple at the same time. And yes, I end up with purple, but I only end up with it for a tiny bit, and then I'm back onto red-white. Now, the other alteration of this is going green-purple instead, which is much harder, in my opinion, to get rid of and combine to use at the same time, which makes you have this kind of power trough where you're weaker at that stage of the game, as green-purple past the early game, in my opinion, is quite useless. It does, however, give you red-blue, which is really good into melee champions. So I think if enemy team is very melee heavy and has a lot of assassins, then definitely consider going red-blue over green-blue is something smart to do. Let's get into the first mechanic, which is how to fix your weapons. So for example here, we can agree that the weapon I'm supposed to use is red first, right? But let's say hypothetically, I use my white first. I fucked up, right? Now I have the weapon rotation that you start off with at the start of the game, right? Now some people, they have this idea that if they fuck up their weapon rotation, they should just hold on to the weapon that they fucked up. So like I having red-white, right? And I needed to have, like I fucked up when I had red-white. So some people have the idea of, okay, then I should just hold on to red until I get white again. But that does not work, because playing Aphelios with one gun is just miserable, and you're probably going to fuck up even more. The easiest way to fix when you fuck up your rotation and you mess it up is just to continue rotating normally, following the guidelines that I gave you, until you get to where we fucked up. So we wanted to use red first, but we used white. It's okay. We know we're still supposed to use red first, so we're going to use our red first. And then we're going to use green, because now green is the oldest. And then we're going to use blue, because now blue is the oldest. Sprinkle in some purple in there. Now we're using purple, and now we are back to red-white. See? Not that hard. You just have to keep it going. It does get harder if you mess up 2 weapons at a time. Like here, if I were to use both red and then into green rather than using the white, it would be a little bit harder, but the same rules would still apply. You would just continue using the oldest weapon first until you get to that rotation that you messed up, and then you do it correctly that time. Mechanic number 2 that many people don't think about that much. You can cancel Aphelios auto attacks with W, so you really don't want to use Aphelios Ws before or while you're trying to auto attack. It's because if you do, it'll look something like this. I didn't auto. I cancelled it. So instead, what we want to do is we want to auto attack, then use W. Or just swap to the desired weapon before we enter the fight. Why the fuck does Caitlyn bot have a support item? A really important thing when it comes to purple ulting that I rarely see people ever talk about is that it's a 99% slow. So what you really want to avoid doing is ulting into insta-purple Q. I'm going to show you here, if I ulti the Caitlyn while she's walking, she just... Okay, point being... Bro, what's this Caitlyn bot? It's super slowed, and then I want to root once the slow wears off. So what you want to do is you want to use your purple ulti, and then you want to wait a bit until the slow wears off, and then you want to use your root. That way you get to actually utilize the fact that you have a 99% slow, get the most CC possible. And the root effect is also increased. Of course, the only exception to this is if you have a hook support and you want to try to like combine it with your hook, then it's fine to instantly root them. So you can flash with green Q, but you cannot flash with any other Q or any other ultimate. So you can't flash ulti. It'll shoot it from the same spot that you tried to flash from. And you can't flash blue Q. But green Q you can flash. And let me show you how that looks like. And what's really nice about that is that a lot of the time you can catch people off guard, as you might have minions blocking you, but by combining your green Q with flash, you can circumvent the minions. And if you want to do it even more aggressively, you can flash forward. So you probably knew that every offhand that you use with chakrams gives you chakram stacks and refreshes the duration. So for example, if your chakram stacks are running out, you can see the timer here, they're about to run out soon. Let's see when they're about to run out. You should red Q to refresh them if you can, right? But what a lot of people don't know, and I don't see a lot of people doing this, is you can also do this with white towers, which is why I often use red-white towers like so. You saw there how I had like an extra second if you just were looking at the toolbar. If I put down a white tower, look. It gives me a near full extra second where I can refresh my chakrams as long as I have a champion to hit. Now this is really useful for either fighting champions, but where I use it even more is when I'm hitting tower. Because I now have 4 chakrams, and I'm hitting tower, hitting tower, hitting tower. They're about to run out, gonna put down the tower. And I get to do 3 more auto attacks with 4 chakrams that I normally wouldn't have gotten to do if I didn't put down that tower. And that makes me able to take dragons, towers, so much faster than if you weren't able and weren't using this trick. A great trading combo early game, combined with PTA, is using green auto into red Q to do a really fast trade against longer range champions. I first saw Viper doing this when Aphelios Jinx was all the rave. And I want to just show you how it's done against this little Caitlyn bot that has crazy movement. So what you want to do is you want to auto attack with green, instantly swap to red, walk a little bit forward, then walk backwards. That way, you immediately proc PTA, you immediately get the auto attack, you proc PTA, you do a ton of damage, and it's a really, really good short, fast trade pattern. You might know that blue Q has a slightly longer range than Aphelios' auto attack. For example, here, I can now blue Q this dummy from this range, but I cannot auto attack him. He's out of my auto range, right? But what you probably didn't know is that the blue Q fires from the right first, which means technically it's better to slightly angle the Q so that you get to fire the Q instantly and enemy has less time to react. If I'm fighting a guy here, I want to play it as boom, 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 boom. Beautiful. So something a lot of people don't think about is that Aphelios weapon CDs are all unique. And this means that in early game fighting, you can actually use 4 abilities back to back. Now in practice tool, but I have no, I have cooldowns turned on, but I'm going to be able to use 4 abilities here as I have both my red and my green low ammo. And this is quite realistic as, you know, these are your 2 starting guns, and this is kind of the combo that you'd probably normally use in a game. Oi, oi, oi. You saw there, I used red Q into purple Q, into green Q, into blue Q. 4 abilities back to back. However, this is very useful in the early mid-game, but as you get later and later on in the game, this little timing here where you reload, this incoming weapon where 1 second where you can't auto-attack can be the death of you. So as you get into later game teamfights, I highly recommend that if you're playing with a low ammo weapon, you really think about, if I use it and I go into the state of not being able to auto-attack, is it okay? And if possible, maybe just get rid of that low ammo weapon before you enter any sort of skirmish. So why is green-blue so good? Well, one of the reasons is once you get a little bit of attack speed, what you can start to do is you can start to chain in a lot of auto attacks in between green Q procs. So what I mean by that, you can auto into blue Q into auto, auto, auto. So it'll look something like this. Did you see that? Did you see how much damage that was? I have 180, but I just did 1,000 damage in that fast of a time frame. 500 DPS with no items. That's insane. That's so much burst. So what you want to do is you want to always start off with the auto attack, and then you want to just proc the green Q with your auto while also auto attacking in between. And to make this even more OP, what you can do is you can combine this with green Q to make it an even longer combo that just does insane damage if you hit the green Q. You see, my character had a stroke. Can you rewind that and slow that down? That was so many animations that it feels didn't even know what to do. Auto attack, Q, auto attack, swap weapons, green, auto attack, green Q, green, auto attack, Q, auto attack. There's a fucking machine gun Aphelios over here. This is why I use green blue in every single game, because it provides so much burst that it's actually one of the few ways you can surprise people with Aphelios these days. Because most people understand what Aphelios do, but when you're playing machine gun Aphelios doing 15 auto attacks, enemy team is going to be completely confused. Whenever you have green-white and you place a tower, you want to auto attack with green to get more auto attacks. I want to place down the tower, instantly swap to green, and auto. And if I now do that with white gun instead, you see how much slower that is? Way slower, bro. Way slower, way less damage. So we talked about the weapon swap earlier, and a great way to abuse this weapon swap is to combine purple and green to CC enemy into guaranteed Q hit. So if we had gotten that red Q earlier to get the purple Q proc onto the enemy, then I want to try to use my purple in line with my green to be able to land the green for free. And this guy has insane movement, so I can't hit the ulti, but he's actually scripting. This is insane. But you get the point, right? You want to combine purple and green to CC into a guaranteed green Q hit. So if we then combine this with the weapon swap that we talked about earlier of doing red-green into purple, where the fuck did Caitlyn go? So I want to use my green-red auto attack. Boom. Root. To guarantee the Q hit. Purple. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. GG, Caitlyn. Bonus tips for you who has watched all the way through to the video. I'll give you some bonus tips and tricks that you can learn on Aphelios that I didn't feel like were quite good enough to include as a mechanic, but still quite useful to know. Common situation. You're sitting on low ammo green. Your next green Q will use up your green, and you have purple as an option. So now if I hit this green Q, what am I going to do to shoot purple? Boom, 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 boom. I am going to do nothing, and I'm going to shoot purple. Because whenever you use green Q, it always fires your offhand weapon. So if purple was my main hand weapon, it would shoot white. And if purple is my offhand weapon, it shoots purple. Very useful when you hit the green Q, you always usually want to shoot purple. One of Aphelios' biggest strengths is how fast it takes objectives with white gun. Use this to hit tower or solo dragon when enemy doesn't expect it. Use my little red white here, boom boom boom, and then we'll use our little trick that we talked about, put down the tower when my chakrams are about to run out. Beautiful, get some more chakram autos. And here I am level 18, but I also have no items, but you can see it's still a pretty swift dragon. Really good tip for pushing in waves. I see a lot of noob Aphelios players don't do this. If you have green-white, you want to use your white mark as an auto reset, and I'll show you how. I want to put down my white tower, and then I want to hit the other minions that the mark is not hitting. And that way, I'll push the wave much, much faster than if I were to use my own auto attacks on the green marks. So you use your own auto attack on something other than what you're trying to auto, and then you'll be able to get an auto reset, just like so. You can also use this in team fights for higher DPS. Purple is really useless in mid-late game, so it's good to use it just for jungle camps and try to get rid of it ASAP, so you don't have it for team fights. You can place Aphelios Tower over really thick walls, in which case people won't expect it. It's also really good to place it into bushes where people will face check. People are not that dumb when it comes to Aphelios towers these days, so if you just put it in their face, they're going to instantly kill it. But a really good tactic is to put it right here under enemy tower, because that way you'll usually get always one good proc on the enemy to poke them under tower. And you also get to slightly abuse the fact that it's over the wall, so you don't need to put it fully, but just slightly over the wall, and it'll go over. A little bit more than that. There we go. Bro, this Caitlyn bot is actually so annoying. Messing up my home flow. Why can't I hit a singular skill shot on you? And last but not least, always make sure that you auto attack either before you use any sort of ability. So if I'm going to red Q here, I'm always going to auto attack into red Q. If I'm going to green Q, I'm always going to auto attack into green Q. That way I get by far the most damage. Don't use white green tower when you are fighting melee champions. Most of the time it's slower. You want to, if you have an enemy champion on top of you, just use white ult and then auto attack them like this. If I put down the tower, the problem will be that this white mark will make everything a little bit slower. It does, however, give me a ton of chakrams, and if I'm a little bit further away, then, you know, this is way better. But if the champion's already on top of you, you don't want to get stuck in the animation of placing down tower, and what can happen a lot of the times is you're not fully tracking your white ammo. So if I put down 2 towers, like right now, oh shit, I'm so strong, right? I'm so strong. I've done this myself a few times, where I'm so strong, and then I put down tower, and it's like, oh shit, that's my white. That was the last of my white. But so yeah, I think that's just about everything that you might not have known about Aphelios that I have learned over many, many years of playing this champion. It's my favorite champion in the game, and I could actually just talk about him all day, every day, I feel like. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope we can all agree to kill this Caitlyn bot in game, because holy f, she is like tracking me down. It's absolutely insane. I think they put AI into the bot games these days. It's crazy. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, my little yapping session about Aphelios. There's so much you can learn about this champion. If you guys are interested in more of a general guide on Aphelios, I'd be down to make that as well with a build guide and all that stuff. But in this video, I just really wanted to cover the mechanics and tips and tricks that I feel like many people don't really talk about that much when it comes to Aphelios. I just feel like I had a lot to share. So leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more. If you're interested in more of my educational teachings, I have a course and a website, and I also do coaching. Links down below. Jackspektra.com. Bye bye.